Hey chemistry students, this tutorial is going to focus on identifying the type of chemical reaction when you're given either an equation or just words. And for this part I just only have written in the reactants. So we're going to classify each of these 10 as either synthesis, decomposition, single replacement, double replacement, or combustion. So you may want to have your little organizer I made for you handy that has all 5 types as well as descriptors and examples. So I'm going to keep mine to the side. All right, let's do the equation side first. And note too at the bottom, to kind of save space, I'm just going to use little letters. So an S will be for synthesis, D for decomposition, SR for single replacement, DR for double replacement, and a C for combustion as we go through these 10 problems. All right, so number 1, we have an equation. We have lithium reacting with bromine to form lithium bromide. So your first step when looking at any of these equations is to figure out what are you looking at. Are you looking at 2 elements? Are you looking at a compound initially, an element and a compound? What is it, okay? So I have lithium and bromine. Both lithium and bromine are elements. So an element plus an element yields a compound. And in my descriptor, I have that for a synthesis reaction. So an element plus an element yields a compound. Or as we have in the little picture or visual above, A plus B yields AB. So number 1 is synthesis. Put a little S beside it. All right, the second one. I have C3H8, or you all may later come to know as ethane, and reacting with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. Now this is a special type of reaction. C3H8 or ethane is actually called a hydrocarbon, meaning it is made up of hydrogen and carbons. So anytime that a hydrocarbon reacts with oxygen, we're going to have a combustion reaction. So combustion, all right? Number 3, I have NaCl or sodium chloride reacting with potassium bromide. And on the other side, my product side, I'm getting sodium bromide plus potassium chloride. So I have a compound plus a compound. So I'm going to look at my sheet. Compound plus a compound. You can either look at the visual. So this would actually be a double replacement reaction. So 2 compounds coming together and they switch partners. So sodium took the bromine from the potassium, and potassium will bond with chlorine in this new compounds. So this is a double replacement reaction. All right, number 4, I only have 1 reactant, so that should be a clue right off of what type of a reaction this is. Because I have 1 reactant, and it's being broken down or split up into 2 separate pieces. So this is actually a decomposition reaction, so I'm going to put a D. All right, number 5, fluorine plus lithium bromide. All right, so right off the bat, I have an element plus a compound. An element plus a compound. So I'm going to search my sheet. And the last one that we have left is a single replacement reaction. So when you have an element plus a compound, this will be a single replacement reaction. Remember, we can now predict whether or not this reaction would happen. This one actually does, so don't worry about that. Double check me if you want to. All right, so that was classifying the types of chemical reactions when we were given equations. And note, these were balanced equations too. Thank you very much. Hold your applause till the end. Now we're going to look at the same thing just using words. And these are only words of the reactants. I didn't write out the whole equation in a sentence form. All right, so let's start with number 1, doing the same thing as before, figuring out, do we have an element and a compound, 2 elements, what do we have? All right, number 1, methane or CH4. And I'm sorry, earlier, this is not ethane, that is propane. My mistake. Okay, carry on. So I have methane, which is CH4, reacts with oxygen. So CH4, so some compound contained of hydrogens and carbons, a hydrocarbon is reacting with oxygen. So anytime you see a compound containing hydrogens and carbons with oxygen, automatically think of a combustion reaction. All right, number 2. Potassium reacts with copper to oxide. So potassium I know to be an element, and it is reacting with copper to oxide. So this is a compound that is made up of copper and oxygen. So an element plus a compound would be a single replacement reaction. All right, number 3. Aluminum reacts with iodine. So I have an element plus another element reacting together. So an element and an element would be a synthesis reaction. 4. Hydrogen peroxide breaks down. Anytime you see that something is breaking down or that it has to be heated, that should be a dead giveaway for decomposition, as well as when it is the only thing that is mentioned, and it is a compound that's breaking down. So this is a decomposition reaction. All right, 5. Calcium nitrate reacts with sodium carbonate. So no, I'm not going to make you write those out. You already know how to do that. Hopefully, if not, you're practicing it right. Okay. All right, so calcium nitrate reacts with sodium carbonate. Calcium nitrate and sodium carbonate are both, you guessed it, compounds. So when you have a compound and a compound reacting together, think double replacement. All right, so notice that we did not do any predicting of products. That's a later video. So continue to practice this on your own, identifying the different types of chemical reactions. Still practice the balancing. Like I said, I cannot stress how important that will be. And as always, ask me if you have any questions. All right, thank you.